What's happening, YouTube? Thank you for coming back to my reaction channel. It's more motivation reactions. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos. So I want to give a shout out to a subscriber for suggesting for me to start the Dream Team documentary. So thank you, Lady Shar Reacts. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to taking a look at this. And how we're gonna do it is split it up in 5 parts, because this is about an hour and 9 minutes. So we're thinking about 20 to 30 minutes each part, and carry on from there. Shout out to all the people that said my sound is off. I got no speakers, so it should sound a lot better. But anyways, let's carry on. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos. React.
Why do people talk about dreams so much in sports? Dream seasons, dream matchups, dream opportunities. They do it because so much of sports is about imagining what you want things to be like. If only the setting were just right.
It was one of those times none of us will ever forget.
The characters just right.
I don't know anything about Angola, but Angola's in trouble.
The timing just right.
11 Hall of Famers. I don't think you can ever do that again, at no point in time.
If only it could all be the way you might have dreamed it up yourself.
Oh, you can feel me? Yep.
That was the most exhilarating 15 seconds of my life.
People perceived us as being superheroes.
No Isaiah Thomas
Isaiah Thomas question.
Cool. They became a team, and that team just stomped on everybody.
This never happened in sports. Nowhere.
Well, I figured eventually there'd be a movie made about the Dream Team.
You're right.
This group may well be the greatest team ever assembled in the history of team sports. God bless you, and God bless America.
"20 years can go by pretty fast, and the world isn't gonna stop and wait for you to remember what it used to look like." 1992 was a time of change. New faces in America quickly transforming into cultural icons. None more so than the superstars of the NBA.
The Bulls have repeated. Let the party begin.
After the legends of the 80s had lifted the league's profile.
Random question. I'm just asking this because I saw Will Smith in there. What do you guys think about Will Smith and his situation now? What's your thoughts about it? Let me know down below. It's just random.
A fresh crop of players had blown the lid off.
Here's Ewing.
Their talents and their charisma made them more than just basketball players.
I am not a role model.
They were a kind of star athlete whose popularity transcended the game.
Is it the shoes?
No, boss.
And now the very best of them awaited their brightest showcase, the world's largest athletic stage, the Olympic Games in Barcelona, Spain, even if no one truly realized the impact they would make there.
It's a watershed moment in the history of sports, not just the Olympics, not just basketball. It moved the culture along.
But in 1992, not everyone was ready for them. Not everyone thought pro basketball stars had a place in the Olympics.
This kind of thing had never, ever, ever been done. So there was a lot of, poking the bear, if you will, by people in my profession. Sports journalists and journalists in general were skeptical, angry, because this wasn't the Olympic movement.
The Olympic ideal had always been about amateur competition, which meant the United States had always sent basketball teams made up of college kids, teams that dominated for decades. In 1972, the Soviet Union was awarded a victory over the U.S. in a controversial gold medal game.
The United States apparently had won the game, but the debate still goes on.
To this day, that American team still hasn't claimed their silver medals. But that result seemed like a fluke when the Americans got the gold in their next two Olympic appearances.
The U.S. has its 9th gold medal.
While the U.S. celebrated, though, the rest of the world was catching up. So in 1988, when the Soviets won again, there was no talk of any fluke.
The United States goes home with a semifinal loss to the bigger, more experienced U.S. team.
I don't know about you, but USA basketball is not the same as it used to be. You know, I think the last time it was really like good. 2012. That's like the last one. I don't know where. I think those Olympics were in Beijing, either 2008 or 2012. That's the last time USA basketball was like legit. Now it fell off for sure.
I was embarrassed. I know some of the guys left their medals there in the room. They didn't want to take them home. Here we are, USA on our chest, and we didn't get the job done.
But the amateur ideal had gotten muddled. While NBA players were prohibited from Olympic competition, professionals from other leagues abroad could play.
If you played in Europe for money, you were an amateur, but if you played in the NBA for money, you were a professional. And so our players weren't eligible.
Those other countries were using pros, playing against 18, 19-year-old kids. That is really unfair.
Changing the hypocrisy, though, was a central goal of a European named Boris Stankovic, the head of FIBA, the World Basketball Federation.
He was very much intent on lifting basketball up to the highest possible level of international sports. And if the whole world knew that the very best players in the world were not participating in the Olympics, that made it a second-class event.
So in 1989, Stankovic issued a resolution to allow pros from all leagues to compete in the Olympics. But back in America, the NBA was lukewarm to the idea.
We wanted to be good partners with FIBA to grow the sport of basketball, but we weren't particularly anxious. We didn't know what it would mean. We didn't.
I miss David Stern, man. He was a good NBA owner. Ever since he passed, it's been different, man. It's been different. You know, that's probably why you're seeing all those super teams, and I don't know how much impact the NBA owners have on that, but it was certainly different when he was the owner, for sure. I don't know if any of you have knowledge of that, but it was very different, very noticeable how the league has so many rule changes, different disciplinary acts. Like it's a lot different. Like it changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Do it. We didn't know what the logistics were, but the vote passed, and NBA players were eligible for the Olympics.
Now the issue wasn't about whether American pros could play, but whether the best players wanted to play.
The one guy that
With Google, search ads are just the beginning. Your ads appear across the Google network. When users watch
Well, that gives you perspective on how low the video is compared to the commercial, right? So I wasn't lying when I said the video itself, the volume doesn't go up high enough, I guess. But I hope the speakers help.
concerned about was probably Michael.
The thought back then was Michael Jordan plays 36 holes of golf 90 days during the summer. What the hell is he going to be doing playing basketball?
I was hoping they would not ask me to participate. And
that's hilarious.
I was trying to figure out a way.
graciously that I could decline. I'd done the Olympic thing before, and when Rod Thorne called me and asked me, I wasn't gung-ho about it.
My appeal to him was, you're the top player in the world. This is bigger than the NBA Finals. And, we need you. His thing, well, who else is playing? I mean, are all the good players going to play? I'm not going to play by myself.
So Michael Jordan waited to hear more.
Michael Jordan is so competitive. I can predict that if Larry and Magic play, I'm not playing. I can just predict that'll be it. Let's carry on. Jordan is that competitive dude that'll say that.
Thorne made his next call.
It was a no-brainer for me. I was in from day one. And I figured if I jumped in first and said I wanted to play, that would get guys to want to participate as well.
I said it.
I think if Magic wasn't on that team, I don't think it would have been as spectacular as it was. And to finish out our careers, that was important for both of us.
Once you get guys like Magic and Larry committing to the team, then all of a sudden it becomes something very, very special. Representing the USA is already a tremendous honor, but to know that you're going to be on a dream team is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Magic, Bird, and David Robinson weren't alone in their pride.
They called in the big guns. We're the Navy SEALs that we had to go over there and kick butts and take names.
With those stars and the Utah Jazz tandem of John Stockton and Karl Malone, the dream team was starting to take shape.
It don't matter if you call me last. I got the call.
I didn't feel like that I deserved to be called, but I truly wasn't going to tell them that.
I was like, yeah, I'm in. I didn't even think to say who else on the team. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Yes.
Charles Barkley's ability was never in question, but his attitude was.
God want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that far, Charles.
No, I talked to him the other night.
I learned early in Philadelphia. It doesn't matter what I say. So from this day...
Charles Barkley, man, has such a big mouth. Some days you love him, some days you hate him. It's a love-hate with him. The only thing I like about Charles is the brutal honesty. Sometimes you need to hear it, but other times, like I said, you want to punch him in the head.
What the hell I want to say, and some people gonna like it, and some people gonna dislike it.
But after a series of incidents on and off the court, the least of the committee's concerns were about what Barkley would say.
I was asked to talk to him. He was so honored that we would even think about asking him. He convinced me that you won't have any problems with me.
Now, with the team nearly complete, Rod Thorne had enough talent secured to go back to where he started.
Representing my country was a big thing, but I think, the biggest motivation for me was now I get to spend time with some of the guys I compete against all the time.
Portland's Clyde Drexler rounded out the list of NBA players, while the final spot on the roster was reserved for an amateur, Duke's Christian Laettner, coming off back-to-back NCAA titles.
There's the pass to Laettner. Puts it up. Yes!
In any other Olympic year, Laettner might have been the team's biggest star. But on this team, he was fine with being the last guy on the bench.
I tell people this all the time, and it may shock them, but my most enjoyable year was my freshman year because they don't expect nothing from you except carry the luggage, do the laundry, and get our donuts. And that's easy. The harder thing is to be the leader.
Bruh, I would like, if I was on any team, nobody's doing that shit to me. You're gonna be the donut guy, the dry cleaning guy. You're gonna wash people's feet, people's car, whatever. You're not doing that shit to me. For what? You know what I mean? Whatever rookie lets themselves be that, bro, how are you gonna get respect from people? Honestly. Hell no.
1991, 2 months before the Olympics, the team was set. One college kid and 11 future Hall of Famers. The man charged with putting it all together was the unflappable Chuck Daly.
Okay, all set?
All set.
Chuck looked the part. He was the guy that looked like he owned the arena, but he would also push the broom.
His hair was beautiful. His suits were immaculate. He wanted to win, but he wanted to look good.
As the head coach of the Detroit Pistons, Daly did both, winning back-to-back championships in 1989 and 90.
The Pistons are winners and still champions of the world.
The Pistons were nicknamed the Bad Boys for their aggressive and some said dirty style of play, never more evident than in their memorable playoff battles with Michael Jordan's Bulls.
Michael on the move against Vinnie Johnson in the move. He is necktie. Michael Jordan goes down hard.
Detroit and Chicago.
That's so dangerous, man. Pulling the guy down like that when they jumped like 4 feet in the air. That's so dangerous. For how long Jordan's career was and how many of those teams he had to face, I'm surprised he didn't suffer more injuries. Seriously. Like I'm thinking that in my head. How did he not suffer that many injuries? Playing that much. That physical defense.
For each other.
So when Daly was named the Dream Team coach, many wondered how he'd handle working with the Bulls' biggest star.
I was being asked to wrestle with some demons and some issues.
But the coach was well acquainted of managing personalities.
He coached the bad boys. And if you can coach those, you can coach anybody.
One player Daly wouldn't be coaching in the Olympics, however, was his own star in Detroit, point guard Isaiah Thomas, who controversially had been left off the team's roster.
No matter how much people try to say now, it was no big a deal. It was a big deal.
I talked to Isaiah at the beginning of the year about the aspect he wasn't on the team, and he was not comfortable with it. I'm sure he is very hurt. He's a very deserving player, but he was not selected.
Thomas was well on his way to a Hall of Fame career, but was also seen by many as the biggest cultivator of the bad boys image in Detroit.
Isaiah was the general. He was the guy that would yap at his teammates and say, knock him on the ass, do whatever you got to do.
A beautiful backdoor pass for Pippen, and he is walloped. He knew he was going to get hit.
I despised the way that he played the game.
Did you want him on the dream team?
No, I did not want him on the team.
Did Michael? Did you want him on the team?
Well, I can't speak for Michael, but I don't think he wanted him on the team.
Now, there has been speculation that your icy relationship with Isaiah Thomas is the reason that he was not selected. Well, what is your reaction to that?
That was one of the stipulations put to me prior to me even committing, that Isaiah wasn't a part of the team. I was getting strong innuendos that it wasn't just, it was coming from higher places that didn't want Isaiah Thomas on the team.
Certainly things are being pointed at me because of our relationship and of course about the way that the end of the game between Detroit and Chicago ended.
We were picking the group just after the Pistons had been eliminated by the Bulls, and it was very bad timing for Isaiah. Everybody had fresh in their mind the picture of Isaiah off the court.
Pistons wasting no time in getting out of here. They left the bench, although there's 7 and 9 seconds remaining. The Pistons just left.
I mean, if I lost to an opponent, I'm not shaking their hand. You know what I mean? I get what they mean by their dirty style of play and all that stuff, but I mean, if somebody walks off because they lost, they're frustrated. You know what I mean? I don't see the big deal of that. I know people are gonna say sportsmanship and all that, but sometimes when you lose, it's painful. So you just walk away. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't see anything crazy about it. All right, I don't see anything crazy about it. You know, personally, if I lose to my opponent, I'm out of there. You know what I mean? I mean, you can think what you want to think, but it is what it is. I have my opinions. Some may agree, some may not agree, but in certain cases, it's gonna happen, right? Like after a loss, it's so painful that you just need to. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's keep going.
The court before the final bell. I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
All right, no Isaiah Thomas stuff.
No Isaiah Thomas questions.
Cool.
Jordan and the team were done answering questions about Isaiah. But with training camp approaching, a bigger question would need to be answered.
Hello, how you doing?
How stars that were selected play together?
Welcome.
Training camp began on June 22nd.
I want to correct myself before I carry on. So when I talk about sportsmanship, of course you should like shake someone's hand after a game, stuff like that. But I'm saying that with the frustration of losing and things like that, you can't always expect it to happen. You know what I mean? I know for me personally, in certain situations, I'm not gonna shake my opponent's hand after it beats me. You know what I mean? It's not to try to be disrespectful, but I don't know. I don't know how someone else would deal with the same thing, but for me, in 10% of cases, after a loss, I don't want to see my opponent. You know what I mean? I want to move on to the next thing, if that makes any sense to any of you watching.
In La Jolla, California. And when the gym doors opened, no one was quite sure what to expect, especially the players themselves.
There's a lot of egos in one gym and on one team. Everybody wanted their form to shine and showcase why they were a part of this team.
With all these stars on the team, if it comes down to the last shot, who's gonna take the shot?
Me. Everybody in the world has an ego. The only difference between us, we have a reason to have an ego.
Marketers from wondering WTF to knowing what to do next.
Every one of us felt like we was everybody.
And when practice started that first day, every player seemed to be trying to prove just how great they were.
It was a very competitive practice, and I'm thinking, aren't we all on the same team?
Patrick go, I don't want to play with Dave, I want to play against him. Then you hear Michael say, I don't want to be on Magic's team, I want to play against him.
Every evaluation of Michael Jordan at that time was, he's good, but he's never Magic Johnson. In my competitive nature, I use every little bit that I could gather so that I can gain an advantage.
Karl Malone, he's the only guy I would even compare to myself at the power forward position. So I want to prove that I was the best power forward in the world. Charles. Yeah, he's a great talent. Do I think he's better than me? Hell no. So let's do this. By the time this over with, you're gonna be thinking I'm damn good too.
The first practice, Barkley drives baseline and Karl Malone jumps up like this. Barkley just dunked on him so hard. It was just an unbelievable play. I felt like, man, I cannot believe that I'm part of this practice.
A few days later, the team had a chance to acclimate themselves to playing on the same side. Chuck Daly had scheduled a scrimmage against a select group of college players, a group thrilled to be facing off against their idols.
I found out today I might be picking up Magic a little bit full court, so, things are just happening for me that really makes me happy.
My whole thought process was don't embarrass yourself, and that was like the theme for me, like just hang in there.
A lot of those people that I've looked up to, Barkley, Malone, Our confidence, and I think it's going to be a good matchup.
Chris Webber was there.
For the college players, it was a chance to see how they'd match up against the world's best.
Let me see if I recognize any of these people. I see Chris Webber there, but that's about the only person I recognize it. Who else? And is that Grant Hill? Huh. So Chris Webber and Grant Hill. Nice.
Coach Daly, it was an opportunity to get his stars to grow into a single unit.
I think we're somewhere between the mentality of an all-star game and trying to come together as a team. So we've got to continually work on this.
Daly had been hired for his ability to manage personalities and egos. And when the scrimmage began, it became apparent that his players had left one of their biggest weapons, those egos, somewhere else.
The non-fan would think, well, they're going to go in there and they're each going to want their own ball, and Jordan's going to be hogging the ball, and Magic's going to be dribbling all over the place. Point of fact, it was the exact opposite. They overpassed.
It was like, I don't want to start it off. You do it. And before you realize it, the select team was beating us by 10.
We didn't know how to play with each other. We didn't want to step on anybody's toes or hurt any egos. And so these young kids, they were killing us.
We were not into it, and we paid for it.
Chris Webber was a man. I thought, boy, that's the guy's coming this league. I could get out of here.
Bobby Hurley was dominant.
I did have some success penetrating and collapsing the defense, and our energy, our excitement to play, all those things played in our favor.
Bobby Hurley didn't play 2 seasons. The NBA. Nevertheless, it did expose the one weakness they could have had, which is defending against quick guards.
They were playing great. Then I noticed that Michael Jordan is not playing.
I'm saying something. Chuck, then he said, we're all right. Yeah, we're all right.
Daly watched as his players...
I never knew Coach K was the assistant coach for this team. Damn. I never knew that. Well, now I know. Now I know.
failed to make up the deficit. And in their first taste of outside competition, the Dream Team lost. A story their coach didn't want the press to get their hands on.
I remember Chuck saying, as soon as the game ended and we were getting ready to let media in, it was erase the scoreboard.
Hilarious.
Media comes in, scores, if not hundreds. They can sense something. Feel the tension, or you feel something in the air.
Well, some of these college players we've just got through playing against probably should be on this team, but they'll get their chance.
The teams posed for a picture together, both not sure what to make of what had just happened. But the man in charge may have had the answer.
He threw the game. You know, Chuck threw the game. If you look how much Jordan played and how he subbed guys in, not picking up, not making any adjustments, he knew what he was doing.
It was legit. It felt tremendous, you know, what we were doing that day. You know, they couldn't stop it.
There are kids who believe in Santa Claus too, and the Easter Bunny, and now that they've grown up, I hate to burst their bubble, but it was a game thrown. Not many people would have done it, and he did it.
It was gratifying to Chuck for us to get our butts beat like that, because now we had to listen to him here.
From then on, he had a way of just saying, you know, you could lose.
After fixing his collars and his hair, his speech was, anybody can get beat, so you gotta be ready to play. And I think that's the only speech he ever gave us.
The message got across. I mean, Chuck couldn't have been happier, I'm sure.
It was brilliant on Chuck's part to be able to orchestrate that and play along like he didn't.
Why didn't he tell you guys?
We probably would have screwed it up.
The next day, training camp ended with a rematch against the college kids. And once play started, everything made sense again.
The tables were turned drastically. We showed them why we are who we are. We pretty much beat them by 100.
They couldn't score. And by the way, Jordan played a lot more that next scrimmage.
Before the
So we're gonna end part 1 there. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos. Stay tuned for part number 2 next Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of my posts. If you have any questions for me concerning coaching, anything to do with videos you want me to react to, comment it down below and look in the description to find ways to reach out to me if you want to. But other than that, thank you so much. Like always, get better every day, optimize yourself. I'll see you next video. God bless you.